This is a really special talk for me.
This is me talking at DEF CON, a little unexpectedly, but I really wanted to talk to you guys because in 5 or 10 years, it's going to be you guys giving the talks here, not me. When I started thinking about what I wanted to talk about at r00tz', it was really basically, what is it that I wish that I knew when I was your age? What were the things that were so painfully true about the world that, man, someone should have just like sat down and told me like, this is what's going on, at least in technology. So that's kind of my goal here today. Let's talk a little bit about how the world really works. There has been a change between the world that I grew up in and the world that all of you are all in. And that is, my God, you could just like get tools for everything. You know, it used to be like kind of like an obscure thing to get the technology, to get the compilers, to get the be able to download whatever you needed to learn from. And it's just not that world anymore. You have it all at your fingertips. The accessibility to college classes is a link away in a web browser, and it didn't used to be that way. If I leave you here with one realization, one piece of awareness, and I'm going to show you just how deep this truth goes. You go to school and a teacher gives you some homework and you do the homework. You get a grade, you know you did good. You get a bad grade, you know you did bad. Eventually, as you go on, you go to college, you get this degree. Everything is set up to make you think that you need permission to be awesome. And I'm going to tell you right now, you don't need anybody's permission to be awesome. You can just go do stuff. The resources are there, the tools are there, the means are there, and you live in a world right now that is not actually based on people getting permission to make things better, but is based on the fact that people did it was better, and they made fabulously wonderful businesses out of it. Now, what do I mean by that? This internet, this thing that we all use. Everyone thinks that this is how it had to be. People have been trying to build internets ever since the telecommunication technology became possible. And you know what? It took decades. People kept going ahead, seeing what we have now and being like, wow, that is totally doable, but let's change it a bit. Let's have the internet that we all know and love, but we're in charge of it. We're the bosses. We can filter anything. We can change anything. We are everything. And what happened is everyone kept making internets like that, and they kept going out of business. They really did. France had something that looked entirely like what we call the internet. It was called Minitel. They were the boss of it. It made €1 billion in '98. It made 100 million euros in 2007. They shut it down in 2009. They were the boss of it, and then they were boss of nothing. We had a thing called America Online long before all of your time. And it looked like it was going to be the thing that brought America online. And you know what? What we call the internet wrecked the thing. Because on America Online, someone needed to provide permission for everything. And on what we call this internet today, no, you just got to play. You just got to build. Now it doesn't mean everyone's going to love what you do, that everyone's going to come to your thing, everyone's going to use your technology, but you have the chance. You have the opportunity. It's an open system. This internet is based on openness. Every other of these systems, you had to pay what we'd call a gatekeeper. You had to pay like someone who basically could choose to let you on, and at a whim could take you off. We have a sort of central system on the internet as well. Because as it happens, technically central systems are easier to make function. This system is called DNS. It's a domain name system. I'm very well known for my work on DNS. I actually hold sort of a key to part of it. And the big key about DNS, if you'll excuse the pun, is man, it really doesn't do much. So I wanted to come up here and tell you a little bit how the world really works. I already told you could do stuff pretty much not asking for permission. Here's the other trick about how the internet really works. So you've got this central authority, this one big thing at the center. It's called the root. It's run by an organization called ICANN, and everyone always complains about it. Oh, those guys in charge are so bad. Listen to what they do, because this is key to how you see a lot of the internet defending itself. ICANN, this thing at the center, it controls all these things. What it really controls is a very small list of names and numbers. And when I mean small, I mean that if you wrote tiny, it would fit on like a couple of pages of text. Like you could write it out by hand, it's not big. And what does this thing do? What does this thing say? This thing says, oh, you want to talk to China? Like a website in China? Here's where all of China is. Not this particular site, not this particular web page, not this particular line of text. Here's the entire country. Go over there. On the internet, unlike on Earth, on planet Earth, there's just land. It's just there, whether humans like it or not. The internet, something needs to establish. There's China, there's Sweden, there's the United Kingdom, there's Australia. Something needs to say. So as soon as this thing in the center has the opportunity to say, okay, well, here's where something might be in China, it just says, no, ask them, ask someone else. It's called delegation. It's where you take a chunk of your power and you send it somewhere else. Now, why is this interesting? In the real world, there's a bunch of stupid people. You might not have noticed. But, and this is sort of the tragic part, sometimes there are stupid people who get really, really powerful. They have nuclear bombs. So what they have a habit of doing is if they want something, they just call up whoever's in charge of that thing and be like, I have nuclear bombs. Please make it so all pages on the internet can no longer insult me. You think I'm joking, but these are the sorts of phone calls that actually happen. And so this is how the internet has evolved in response to this sort of thing. They make it so anyone who you could call up to go ahead and do this sort of, I want this very specific change, has to now be asking for too much. You want this page changed in China? You have to mess with all of China, all at once. You have to ask for so much you're actually afraid to. It's a design concept. You make it so the only way to mess with the internet is to do the equivalent of dropping nuclear weapons, and they don't want to do that, because that would kind of break everything. Effectively, many, many years ago, we had something called the Industrial Revolution. And it went ahead and made it so a much smaller number of people could build a vastly larger amount of stuff. It was just a transformation of what our societies were capable of. You know, we used to spend about 75% of our time just getting enough food to eat, and now it's like 0.35% of our time. Food is not a problem anymore. Now we gotta go do other things. The internet caused this thing called the information revolution, where we actually started to be able to communicate vastly better and just get more synchronization done. It's been the largest growth of what we're capable of. The fact that all of you can go ahead and just get college level information, college level training, just because you happen to be interested in it, beyond the level of a book, but the actual detailed information transfer, it's unprecedented in history. Now I'm going to tell you something that's not good news, which is there are a bunch of jerks on the internet, and for as amazing as the internet has been for being free to let you go ahead and do stuff and build stuff and learn stuff. The freedom to do stuff is also the freedom to do stuff insecurely. There's nobody who can tell you, this website you're building is great and wonderful and really enables humans, but by the way, it's totally gonna leak everyone's information to bad guys in Russia. Nobody can tell you no. And as good as it is that there's no permission, it creates half an obligation and half an opportunity. You are all here at one of the world's premier hacking conferences. And I don't know if you know what hacking really is, and I'm gonna tell you right now. Our systems are built in layers. They're sort of like pieces that are stacked on top of each other over and over and over until we build up into these amazing constructions that allow us all to communicate and build stuff. Electricity goes into basically milled rock, which we call chips. Chips run a particular language, which we as humans are really bad at speaking, called assembly. These languages are made simpler and simpler and simpler till more and more people can work on them. We end up getting web browsers that allow us to download stuff without having to do any work. It's all layers on layers and layers. And every other kind of developer, every other kind of engineer really likes to think of their particular layer. It's what's called information hiding. They don't think about how it's all really working and how it's all really working together. And that is not us. We hackers actually look and see how the system really works. We don't care how it's supposed to work. We try stuff. We see where things might break. We're not fooled by what's called the abstractions, the hidden parts. No, we look across all the systems. It means when we're trying to break things, we have more and more opportunities because we don't care which layer we break, we'll just break all of them. But it means as people out to fix things, as people out to protect, not everyone in the world is a software developer, but everyone in the world is now affected by software. There's a quote that software is eating the world, and hacking is eating software. Hacking is eating the world. Not all hacking is positive, helpful, curious. Some of it is just people trying to rob other people. And so, as all of you get into hacking, as all of you look into how the system really works, I encourage you, go ahead, break stuff. I did. That's how I got where I am. I looked at how things really worked, and one day I'm like, uh-oh. If I do this, this, and this, I'm going to be able to hijack every email, every website. I'm going to be able to break this net. You know, you break it, you buy it. Go ahead, understand how it really works, understand how it really breaks, but realize the story doesn't stop there. We have an internet to protect. We have the greatest engine of growth and curiosity and help that we have found. You're going to go ahead and you're going to learn things, and you're going to be able to make things safer for your friends, for your family, for your parents. You're going to be in a position where you see how things really work, and you're going to be in a position to make things better. So that's what I wanted to say to all of you. I can't even say what an honor it is to be here.